Do it anyway. Okay. We'll skip through this. Hidden, never mind. So we didn't really put a slide in for this, but the topic of the day, how many of you were on Kristen's state team meeting? Okay, James and Shana were. Kathy, obviously you weren't, being up in Washington. Were you on? You were listening. Lynn's coming in, she was listening. Saturday, I think it was Saturday, Friday or Saturday, they kind of like came out with the the decision on NAR and BACs and the MLS and the participation rule. So James, Shana, which one of you can give us a brief description of what the participation rule means? Look at Shana, he's like, oh shit.
I can't, to be honest. So I honestly like, yeah, you go ahead and explain it. I'll share my opinion later.
Okay, yeah, I definitely, that's what I want, is I want your opinion. I want us to have a conversation about it because, oh, and I should have pulled up those links. Can you pull up the links to the two trainings so that you can share them in chat? So I don't have to pull your computer. Mom had sent them to you, right? Didn't you send her the links to the other classes we're gonna get on?
I thought I put them into Limitless,
Oh, okay.
but
I'll find them. I'll find them at some point, but literally right after this, there's one that starts with, you guys may recognize the names Daniel Beer and Kyle Whistle, the big, huge producers in San Diego with EXP. They're holding a kind of a webinar of sorts to talk about this decision. And then after that is, what's Leo's position? He's like some head of operations of some sort with EXP. Right after that, he's going to be talking about it from his perspective on what that means for agents.
Utah's always also doing it
And
today.
Utah?
Yeah,
Who Utah?
our-
You mean like the
Jeff
board?
Jeff, also
You-
Washington EXP is also talking about it right now, and I figured that I'd come to your meeting because it's at the same time right now, and that's what they called the special meeting too. And I figured theirs will be recorded as well, so I figured I'd come listen to you, and then I can listen to their recording. But they're doing the same
I
thing
missed
right
what you
now.
said at first. Who had one, Kathy?
What's that? Oh, Washington.
Oh,
EXP.
Washington. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
they're having a meeting right now, and I thought I'd come listen to you first, and then I figured theirs is going to be recorded, so I can listen to it afterwards.
Good, good.
Hopefully.
So basically, it's addressing the whole commission issue, right? Like sellers raised their hand and caused a stink. It's like, I didn't know I was paying the buyers commission out of the transaction, and they wanted to be compensated and get refunds, and the whole court cases, all the stuff that's been going on. Bottom line is NAR settled. NAR settled and said, and they're paying a big fine, lots of money. And no longer can buyer agent commissions be listed on the MLS. The participation rule refers to the fact that it used to be required. You couldn't post a listing on the MLS unless you had a cooperative agreement, broker to broker, that you were offering something. That's what it was for. It was for, and I used to explain it to my clients that way all the time. It's like, hey, the MLS isn't for you. It's for the brokers to communicate, hey, I've got this listing, bring your buyer to my listing and I'll compensate you for it. So we're marketing to all the other agents out there. It just gets used and syndicated and, put out there for the public to see the properties that are available. But the design was to be cooperative and say, let's work together and get this property sold. And we're going to offer you this compensation. The problem was that the seller wasn't always informed that they were paying the opposing side's commission to negotiate against them to try and get the lowest price, and they're trying to get the highest price, and they're compensating that agent. To some people, that's just kind of like, well, that's weird. That's like me paying your attorney fees when you sue me, right? It's like, whatever. You can think of any analogy you want, but I can understand that. The problem is in transparency and in communicating and being upfront with your clients. Because here in Utah, I don't think it's been a problem for a long, long time. So they're talking nationally, but we actually a long time ago adopted the form knowing that this was an issue, to where now the sellers initialed and acknowledged what they were compensating the buyer's agent for their role in the transaction. It's separated out listing commission, 6%, 7%, whatever it was, then it actually broke it down. In fact, it took a lot of people a minute to figure out how that worked, because they were putting the full commission in the sell side, and then the buyer's agents in the buy side. But really, it's like it was split up. Like, this is what we're going to retain, this is what we're offering to the to the buyer's agents.
So Jeff, their argument on the other side was just lack of knowledge, like they didn't know that's what they're.
Almost like deceit, right? It's like, wait a minute, I paid the buyer's agent commission out of my proceeds. It was being misinformed, blaming the agents, like, you never told me.
Because the other states didn't even have the disclosures or documentation that we have, right?
Right. I mean,
I
it's
guess-
common that it's done that way, but they were saying you didn't
But
communicate.
they would always see it on the disclosure, on the settlement, right?
Sorry.
But that would be late in the process, so they're probably saying, hey, we didn't know until the 11th hour, when we saw the first draft of our settlement statement, that this was gonna be included.
I'm sure that's a lot of it. I'm sure that's when it came up a lot, or maybe even they found out after, I don't know.
But I mean, if you
Combination of
just,
both.
I'm just trying to think through this, because, I mean, if you know it, then you know it. If you don't know what you don't know, then obviously you don't. And I guess my question is, if you literally had no idea how the real estate transaction worked,
Mhm.
completely naive to it, what they're saying is there's no point in the process unless your agent as a seller explicitly tells you that. Their claim is there's no way they could know.
Right. Well, and here's my thought on that too, is the listing agreement is between the listing agent and the seller. If you as a seller agree to pay me 6%, what the hell do you care what I do with my 66%? But they do, right? But I'm saying, from that vantage point, I'm saying, well, I can do whatever I want to. If I'm inducing and I'm sharing my commission with another agent to help me sell your home, why do you care? Because you agreed to pay
So
6%.
again, there was disclosure that the fee was there. You're saying that because there's that sharing component, they're like, oh, we need to see all the details. We need to understand the full scope of the transaction. And that's what they're complaining.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like non-negotiable, like, right? That's like a huge thing people are saying.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. That's another part of it, Sydney. Good point, is that they were saying, well, I didn't have a say. What if I only want to offer 1.5%? What if I wanted to, like, homie, offer $1,000? I wasn't part of that decision.
Yeah.
And so the courts are saying, you stupid agents, you need to do a better job. You need to quit deceiving the public, and we're gonna slap your hands with
So-
millions and
Even
millions of
though
dollars.
our fee might be 3%, they're saying that it was never disclosed, that the other percentage is negotiable.
Yeah, because your listing agreement originally just says the full 5, 6, whatever you charged.
Which makes sense, but our documentation is so clean cut,
Mhm.
that it's broken out and.
Yeah, ours is
yeah.
amazing, so when I go in, I just still say, my fee is 3%. And, you know, you can offer the other side whatever you would like to bring a buyer.
Mhm.
And sometimes they say, well, why do I need to pay that? And I tell them the pros and cons of whether or not to put a zero in
And it's
there.
their decision.
And it's their decision, but it is correct, if you think about it, if you're putting out 6 sheets of paper that are comparables and they have 2.5, 3, whatever, it is that if you didn't have those in front of them, then they would have a choice to just do whatever they want to do.
They need
instead.
guidance, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They need guidance from us as their guide in the transaction, protecting them and giving them options. You know, it's no different to me than going to them with my pricing structure and say, okay, we're gonna fall somewhere between 450 and 525. I got comps in this range, and here's there, because I say this all the time, market analysis or appraisals are not a science. There's not an exact number. It's an opinion of value, what we think somebody else is gonna pay. And there's usually a range. So I go over the pros and cons of listing it low and at listing it high. What's your motivation? How quickly do you have to get it sold? Is money more important than time? All of the variables that come into why they're selling in the first place. I guide them to land on the price they want to list at based on the information I'm dumping on them. And they say, you know what, I really want to go under contract. We might even get some multiple offers if we go with closer to the 450 range, is whatever number I said, down to the lower end, maybe bump it up a little bit. And others are just like, you know what, I don't really care if it sells or not. If I don't get this price, that's what I want. And they, at least they understand this pricing strategy. It's kind of the same thing with commissions, in my opinion. It's like, here's what other people do. Some people might put a listing on there and they're not offering any compensation to the buyer's agent to bring them a client and sell their property. Others might offer 4%, right? I mean, I've seen that. Builders are offering
And
premiums.
Jeff, you've heard me say that multiple times. In this market, I would offer more than 3. I literally would offer more if I could, right? And I would obviously tell my seller that, hey, if you really want to sell this house, we're not doing 1%, we're not doing 2.5%, let's offer more to attract those.
Yeah.
And that's my mentality. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that, but that's how I.
No, I think you're right, because if you can also show them, along with the commission structure that other people do, show them price drops.
Right.
Because when people are talking about listing a $600,000 and they're talking price drops, they're in the tens of thousands of dollars each drop. What does that work out to percentage wise? If you offered valid competition for your contract by offering a high BAC, then you know as well as I do that some agents are going to try and sell that property to their clients so they can make the commission. It's like, this one's the best one I've seen.
Yeah,
5% BAC.
Just like Lynn and I don't go to Lynn.
Yeah.
Recorded, just kidding.
Totally right. So it's an education piece for us. And one more key point that goes along with this, and then I want some feedback from you guys, obviously. Buyer's agent commissions can't be listed on the MLS. That also includes, because my first thought was, oh, just put in the agent remarks, you know, hey, we're offering this and that. It's not in the BAC slot.
I
Right?
sent you a great example of that. In the remote, you don't remember? Oh, wait, I'll have to share it. Hold on, I'll find
Okay,
it.
Lynn will pull that up. So it can't be on the MLS.
But you can communicate verbally.
Well, call me just to discuss commissions, right? I mean, call me.
This is a good.
Oh, it's not a good example. It's a joke of a meme.
I know, but it is good.
Okay, I'll show that in a second. Yeah. I'll show you guys. So today though, Kristen said, at least in conversations with Utah, now Kathy, I don't know how that'll apply to you, but she thinks there's gonna become a new section on the listing form titled concessions. I mean, what bullshit is that? It's just like, we're just gonna call it something else in this same
Yeah,
offering as
and I heard her say that because I thought that was, I thought it was
actually wrong, different, yeah.
it actually said that sellers can still offer concessions.
apply it to what you want, right? The problem is, as of right now, lenders have maximum allowable concessions. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, if you're putting less than 10% down, only allow 3%. And if they need that for their closing costs, that can't possibly cover a commission as well.
It puts a real twist on it because we love our sellers, I mean, our buyers, and we want our buyers to have a great experience, be able to get into a home. And when we start putting our commission in there so that they have, I don't know, it just, it's a real.
It's always been in there. It's just a communication thing. It's always been in there. They just didn't know it. Because we always used to say, hey, it says right on the MLS, or I mean, right on our buyer broker agency agreement in Utah anyway, it says right on there, if the compensation offered on the MLS is equal to this amount, it shall satisfy this agreement. If it's less, you still owe the difference. It says it right there. So if you're explaining the buyer broker agreement, you're saying, this is what my fee for service is, 3% or whatever. If it's covered by the MLS, you're good. Lynn and I always have said, if they're offering less on the MLS, whatever that compensation is on the MLS, that's what we're going to accept as our fee for service for working with you. We're not going to burden you further with additional closing costs or cash out of pocket if they're only offering 2, for instance. Okay, that's just the way we've done it. Then that also is followed up with because the buyer broker agreement states that if they buy any property or gain an interest in any property, they owe you that commission. So that includes for sale by owners. So all I do is follow that up with, all I need from you, if you find a for sale by owner, is the opportunity to negotiate my fee with the seller. Not with them, but with the seller, because it's not already in writing, offered on the MLS, BAC. So that whole cut and dry, yep, this is what they're paying me, that's what I'm gonna accept. Doesn't apply anymore because it's not gonna be out in the open unless there's a concessions thing.
I would always mention that there's a minimum, right? I'd say now, because there were some homes that were like $1,000, right? So I would say if it does get below this amount, then I'm going to try to fight for a higher commission.
Right, Nathan, you got your hand up.
I do. I hate interrupting.
No, good morning.
Good morning. So in Oregon, for our listing agreement, it states the total percentage for commission. And then the second page, I believe it, or the third page, I believe it is for how much the seller agent is getting. And it explains it all explicitly in the listing agreement. I honestly don't see what the problem is with that, but whatever they're gonna do, right? But my question is I don't know if you guys could do dual agency there or not. We
We can.
can here. So I'm wondering if you'd be able to just take that client from the buyer's client and give them a 50% referral fee.
Restate that. You mean if an unrepresented buyer comes to you on your listing, they
No.
don't have an agent?
So this is going to make it pretty difficult for buyer agents. I'm sure they're going to come up with something. I was just kind of wanting to know your thoughts on, like, say, if I'm the listing agent and there's a buyer agent or somebody that's got clients and they bring them to me, I can take over the transaction and pay them a 50% referral fee for that client.
Why would you take over the transaction if there's an agent involved?
I think you're maybe thinking there's still going to be a 6%, but I would highly doubt that there's gonna be a 6%.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a reduction in acceptable commissions on both sides, just because of the media and the hype and the talk and the focus on agents just make too much money, you know? I was on a Zoom call with Josh Metal and Jake Breen and a mortgage coach this weekend, and we were talking about that. How the fee structure might change. It might be, it's X amount up into $1 million. I charge a flat fee of this if it's between 1 million and 2 million, or up, whatever. And the higher range homes probably are not gonna be, 6% on a $3 million home.
Right.
No,
So
those
Jeff-
are already lower than that.
Jeff, I've got a question. When you have that conversation with your clients about the difference between the BAC and then the exclusive buyer broker agreement, which is, let's say you put 3% and they offer 2.5, you got that half a point delta. Even though you verbally discuss that with them, do you go to the exclusive buyer broker agreement and strike that and then write that
No.
language in there, or are you just verbally saying that to your
You
client?
can do an addendum. You don't strike anything on a contract,
Okay, so you're-
there's an
that's
addendum
correct.
to the, yeah, so yes.
But
you
so you are
remove that
you're
by
putting that
restate.
language in writing.
No, 99% of the time,
Usually you just talk. about it,
it's
right?
like, I trust you,
Yeah,
and
right.
that's what we do.
Right.
That's what we follow through with.
That was my question.
I don't even remember the client, but
All of
yeah,
that.
I've had one too since 2009 that has asked me to put it in an addendum. And the rest have said, okay,
Yeah, okay, that was my question.
yep.
But I have seen it, where someone will say what's offered.
Okay, so I'll open up the conversation with you guys in a minute, but here's Lynn's clever workaround on what kind of BAC you're offering. Yeah, they are.
Can you read it?
It's blurry to me anyway.
It's blurry. Basically,
I'll read
miniature.
I'll read it out loud. It said this 3-bedroom home will be perfect for you as it has recently been updated with 3% in bold throughout.
So the bold letters in that are the 3, the per for perfect, and the cent. This 3-bedroom.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. That'll be a whole nother set of fines.
So I put
30%.
a video in the Team Limitless Facebook this morning of a lady in, I think she's in North Carolina. I think it's a really good video if you have time to watch it. She says some really cool things in there and also can help anybody that's kind of feeling a little worried about this, kind of change your mentality. And that's why I think, you know, getting on a Daniel Beer's call, getting on Leo's call, these will all help us because I don't know about you guys, but my feed on my Facebook is all just crazy real estate agents being stupid. And I want to surround myself
I have
with,
stupid agents on my.
I'm following a lot
I'm
of
kidding,
groups,
I'm
right?
kidding.
I want to surround myself with people that are in mastermind on how we can, you know, deal with this and become stronger because of it.
Okay, it is in Team Limitless Facebook group, but I'm also putting in the chat and Lynn's out.
Is it opinion time, Jeff?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
Okay. So this is my visual that I'm having. So if you imagine you jump in a pool and you're like, you have that feeling or fear of drowning and you're kind of like struggling for a second. I think that's what everybody's doing. But how I visualize where I'm at with this is all you have to do is stand up and the bottom is right there. And I don't really see a difference with at least how James and I conduct our business with our clients. The fear and the scarcity that's coming in is that there has been a lack of knowledge on the client side with where their money is going. And so in my case, in James and our case with our clients, that is not the case. We educate our clients and they know exactly what they're paying and who they're paying and why they're paying it. And so the conversation that we have with, let's say with a seller on the BAC, it's literally saying we come up with an agreement of what that is. And then this is, you know, you get to choose why you're doing it. And so I think some agents maybe run their business where I think it's great for your client to fully trust you and all that, but they also there's a lot of clients that have blind trust in their professionals and they're just trusting them and hoping that it's all going to be great. And I don't like to run my business that way. I want my clients to have 100% trust in me, but then I also want them to know what their numbers are and why they're doing it. And so in my opinion, everyone who is putting all this stuff out there right now, they're in the water splashing around trying to figure out what to do. And I feel like I just stood up and I'm like totally calm. And we have until July for things to kind of iron out. And like Kristen said this morning, they have tons of people working on resources and paperwork and things like that that's going to help support. But like she said, also Utah is way ahead of the game as far as our buyer broker agreements and things like that. And so I think, I don't know, I guess I'm just tired of listening to it already because
Yeah.
I think it's just it's an overreaction right now. Sorry, there's my opinion. There we go.
No, I agree with that. That would make a great post from your perspective. There's a meme, not a meme, a reel that I had seen of this little kid holding onto a log or a pipe or something like in the water and his feet are like underneath him and he's holding onto it and he's just screaming and his parents or adults are around him and stuff, encouraging him to just stand up because he was screaming because he thought he was gonna, you know, fall in the water or whatever, and literally the water was only this deep on him. So once they kind of helped him put his feet on the ground, he's like, stood up, oh, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and I
Jen,
think with that analogy too, is it just helps us, like, we are gonna see a rise up of agents and professionalism in general. And I think if anything, it's a call to action for ourselves to like really get clear on how you run your business and what it is that you like this to understand what services you offer too, like to actually know what they are. I think we go about and just think we know, but could you actually say it to people, like what you offer and what differentiates you from the rest of the industry? So I think it's a good call to action on our part in getting clear with that.
yeah, she said exactly what I was gonna say, which is it will force a conversation of transparency and exactly what value you bring to the transaction.
Mhm.
That might be a good thing, right? Where it allows you as the agent to almost like sell yourself a little bit more to justify what's going on, right?
Yeah, I like what you said too, Shayna, and I think there's something else involved with leveling up. You think it's gonna cause agents to level up? I think the ones that already perform like you do, are just gonna do business as usual. I think what's really gonna happen is there's gonna be a lot more agents quitting. This just got harder. It was already really, really hard. Whenever there's chaos, it makes some people flee. And as we were talking about it on our Zoom this weekend, chaos creates opportunity as well, right? There's opportunity in disruption and in chaos, and the conversations need to be, okay, what are we gonna do about it, right? Not like, whine, bitch, all the stuff she's talking about on her feed is all just complaining and stuff. The conversation should be, I have a solution, or I wanna talk about solutions, or let me share with you what I'm doing, what are you doing? In spite of what's happened, because things are always prone to change, right? That isn't there a saying that says the only constant in life is change? Hugh James.
I'll share something.
Crazy.
So I think, so I'll share a couple things. One is that the settlement isn't even approved yet. It has to be signed off on. And I think this goes towards a major point, like I think conversations around it are important, but at this point I'm just irritated by it already because we don't know what it's going to look like. And as long as you're having positive conversations, which I think this one is, but a lot of the conversations and feed I've seen, even from brokers, is just absolutely ridiculous. It drives me crazy. Well, I won't say that because this will be published on YouTube, but it's they're promoting the scarcity and scare tactics, and then they say, hey, join my coaching. I'm like, you are a piece of shit, essentially. In my opinion, that's predatory. But and I even see brokers putting out false information about, like, because they would say something along the lines of everybody knows like 6% is standard. No, that's actually not what it is. That's your opinion. But because they have like broker behind the name, all these people are believing it, and like their friends and other people. I'm like, you're a major cause of disinformation and all this other stuff. And here's the thing, until we see what our MLS and our new forms are going to look like, all of this is speculation. So we're going to be there's a lot of speculation for 4 months. Like, how much anxiety is that going to cause for people, and then just drive them crazy? So I'm done with this stuff, to be honest. So I'm not going to look at it. I'll look at things from reputable sources, but as far as engaging in the conversation, I don't think it's worth it. And the counter to that is like, well, you're going to be behind. And like, behind in what? There's nothing out there. So all I've noticed around it, maybe I just follow the wrong people, is just a bunch of negativity. So I'm basically just going to double down on myself and not even pay attention to what those people are saying, because it's just speculation at this point. It's like COVID 2.0 for real estate agents, in my opinion.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, is I was thinking of like 2022 and like when you're representing buyers and you're going to view homes that are listed by discount brokers or people offering just $1,000. we're already having those conversations with our clients and being transparent and communicating right from the beginning of, hey, we're gonna go see this property, I just want you to be aware, they're only offering $1,000 compensation. And so whether or not, like, you guys offer on the property, I'm still gonna show it to you, and you have those conversations, but you prep them so they're aware and they're not thrown off after you write up an offer and submit it, right?
Yep.
And then same goes, Jeff brought this up earlier, like for sell by owners, like I've had to negotiate my own commission on for sale by owners that were offering nothing, and I got a full 3.
Mhm.
But I had the same conversation with my buyers of, just so you're aware, they're not offering any commission, but I will fight my hardest, you know, to get us in there and like go under contract, but just so you know, I will be also fighting for my commission. Because this is gonna be a lot more work. I can already tell by talking with the for sale by owner, and they're like, oh, you fight, you go, and if you don't get it, we'll offer at least this much, but this is as much as we can do. Like, these conversations have already been happening. It's just now Kristen's saying that's gonna be something that we're asking right away when we're calling, asking about the home that's listed. It's gonna be like, okay, so what's the BAC? Just an additional question.
So in this group, the conversation has already been happening. The whole point of the lawsuits, though, is that it hasn't been happening in the industry as a whole. So there's not a lot of change. I agree with James. It's business as usual. We're transparent, we disclose, we have conversations, and we're explaining how things are done, right? This could even just be a lead-in for those agents that need to have a prompt to have the conversation, because it's in the news, it's out there. It's like, hey, this is the way buyer's agent commissions used to be communicated between the seller and the buyer's agents. That's no longer the case. So it's just different. The fact is, I still charge a fee for my service to represent you. Right? And so the seller offering it to me is easy. It's like, this is what they're offering, this is what I'm gonna collect at closing. It's a broker agreement. They really can't even back out of it. It's just part of the ethics, right? So it's just more conversation, it's more transparency for the industry. And I think the agents that are already doing it the right way are gonna just continue to thrive, and they're gonna continue to build their relationships. The hurdle for other agents that aren't used to doing that is they need to learn some new dialogue. Nathan?
I'm just having fun raising my hand. No. So yeah, I'm not like a 20-year vet of this. Okay. So I don't quite completely understand the association with the lawsuit. So just for an example, really quick, I have a membership of the local shooting range. I also have my concealed carry license. I'm thinking about joining SAS, which is Single Action Shooting Society, which is an association. Okay, the SAS does go to the club once a month for their practice rounds and all that stuff, but they're not related. So I don't understand personally how somebody could sue a realtors association, because it's basically a club for realtors. It's an association. What that has to do with our individual MLSs? Could you elaborate on the realtor part of the association and the actual industry, how that relates? I don't understand how they could sue them and affect us, because they're our association. They're like, they don't make the rules.
Well, that is the problem, is the public is saying they did. What they're saying is it was a collusion or a collaboration between brokerages to drive the prices up and commissions, in a sense, kind of like price fixing. It's like, your home will not be sold if you're not offering this high percentage, and that hurts the public because they weren't given a say in the matter. So the association NAR, for instance, like you can't even subscribe to the MLS unless you're a member of the board. You have to be a member of the board, which to be a member of the board, you have to be a member of NAR. So they did kind of have these rules that the public is saying that we were colluding with broker to broker to price fix and keep the prices higher to the public. And that's what they're upset about,
Okay,
that they
so,
weren't enough of a voice.
so basically we've all been paying thousands of dollars a year to get screwed.
No, it's more than that. NAR lobbies for homeowners' rights for the profession of real estate. That's what a lot of people don't understand is, well, what else does NAR do? It's whittled down to this one thing because of the lawsuit, but they have protected our rights as real estate agents to make the kind of money we've made by protecting our profession and our industry, but they also lobby and fight for the rights of homeowners. So it's homeownership in general that NAR is huge on, and this is actually gonna hurt NAR. I don't even know if it'll go away or what's gonna happen to the membership, but I think it's where it's gonna backfire is it's actually gonna hurt the public more than it's gonna hurt the agents.
Okay, that makes kind of sense there. Yeah, I'm just trying to elaborate the connection there. And yeah, I kind of get the collusion part because like I was late on my realtor dues last year and I almost lost my license because EXP was going to drop me because I didn't have a NARN membership. I'm like,
I
that's
went through,
like
I went through
polluted.
the
That's
same
like,
thing, Nathan, this month in February. I was
That-
gonna be dropped February 29th if I didn't get my NAR dues paid.
well, that's kind of like lobbying to create a law that everybody has to have insurance after you've started an insurance company.
Well, not everybody has a requirement to participate in NAR. You can be a licensed real estate agent. You're deemed a realtor if you're a member of the National Association of Realtors. If you're not, you're still a licensed real estate agent and you can do real estate transactions. And you don't have to participate in the board. You do not have to participate in the MLS. You just don't have access to that information. Most people opt to pay for that because they have more tools and more resources and it makes their job and their profession easier, right? But if you're licensed with a broker that doesn't require that, then you don't need to pay those dues, right? The reason that I've heard in the past from EXP about NAR and the Board of Realtors and the MLS is because members of NAR are held to a certain standard. NAR has a code of ethics. EXP wants a certain type of agents and standards and expectations with their agents. So by requiring them to be a member of NAR, you don't have to join another brokerage, right? So they're just saying at our brokerage, this is the standard that we adhere to and we're members of NAR. And that comes along with it, the code of ethics and all of that other stuff. But it's a requirement for some brokerages, but I'm just saying it's not a requirement for the real estate industry. You are a licensed real estate agent by passing that damn test and licensing, hanging your license with the broker that does not require you to be a realtor.
But you have to be a realtor to have the MLS.
Correct. Those are tied together. The MLS requirement is it's available to realtors that are a
Now-
member.
And now I understand why they got sued. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add the emphasis on like the code of ethics, because like, if you remember in real estate school, the emphasis is like, you cannot use the title of being a realtor, like that trademark, unless you are binded by the code of ethics. Not every agent is binded by and has to follow the code of ethics. And so,
Title agents example.
right, exactly. And so it's like more of like a privilege. It's a title that we hold, showing people that we do follow the code of ethics.
Good explanation.
Yeah.
Exactly right. There's a snippet for your reel right there. That's true though. It's kind of like any other designation,
Legally
right?
cannot put, like, even on your social media, you cannot put that you are a realtor. And it has to be like the trademark, like they just updated things, it has to be in all caps or have like a capital R. You cannot put that unless you are a member of NAR.
Mhm. Like some people,
People get
you
in
see
trouble.
their name and they got all these acronyms behind it, right? Because they've got it, they've received designated certifications in certain areas. Like, who knows what a CRS is? CRS is a certified residential specialist. There's an acronym for about anything that's niched into, working with the retirement community, working with short sales. You can get a designation that says I'm proficient in this area. And to Sydney's point, that's exactly what I'm a realtor.
And I
Not-
think
not real electoral.
we literally
People
don't
rush.
know how much and how hard and what they stopped from happening. Like, we're part of the Apartment Association of Utah because of our rentals. And typically they'll do like a newsletter and tell us all the things that are on Capitol Hill that they're fighting for us, at least on our behalf. And it's insane, you guys, the bills that come up against property owners and rental owners, or I guess rental owners. And I'm sure NAR goes through the same exact thing, like it's ridiculous things that you wouldn't even, you would say, oh my gosh, this would put someone in the courthouse, you have to have a radon test before and after every tenant moves in and out of the house. That was one of the things that they were fighting for us. I mean, there's just so many things that come up that don't make sense, but if we don't have an association fighting hard for us that we are putting money into, we have no idea how we'd be affected.
Yeah. That is the advantage, right? We're pooling our efforts together and we actually have a body willing to fight for us. Otherwise, it's left up us as individuals. How many of us are going to go to Capitol Hill every time a bill is presented to voice our opinion? But when an association that aligns with your industry, your beliefs, or whatever, is representing you on Capitol Hill because they have the funds and the staffing to do that, you got to look at it that way as well. Good or bad, if there was not lobbyists fighting for the homeowners' rights and for the rights of real estate agents, we may not even exist, and homeownership rights could be taken away. Landlord rights can be taken away. The renters have a pretty loud voice and they're always trying to stick it to the landlord.
I have a question, not really a question, but so I get the realtor designation, but I think from my limited experience, I don't even think that's important amongst realtors. Like how many end buyers are searching for somebody that like, I don't want a real estate agent. I want someone with a realtor designation. And so maybe an increased focus on the separation between the two of the higher standards needs to be presented to the public more, because I don't think they know. Like, do you guys know the difference between like a PharmD and a registered pharmacist?
No.
Probably not.
No, but if
And
I needed to know, I would call you.
yeah, but like amongst those, it's kind of like I know a guy who was a registered pharmacist, but he went back to school for a period of time to get his PharmD. But if you kind of break it down on a comparison per person, sometimes registered pharmacists are better than PharmDs. It just really kind of comes down. So it's well, at least in pharmacy, I think it's more of an ego thing, and some additional other factors. So, but it would be interesting to take a poll on consumers to see if they even know what the difference is. And if they don't, that's our fault as realtors, as for not promoting those specific things that we stand for as far as all those ethic things go, which are all beneficial for the consumer in the end.
I
And-
agree with you. There's probably not as much public information out there on what that means, but think of it within our industry. We have a whole ethics committee at every single board of realtors has a ethics committee that takes complaints. It's our job to police the industry and say, hey, there's bad apples out there that are giving the industry a bad name because they're acting unethically or even doing illegal transactions and things and giving bad advice and misrepresenting their clients. It's our job to raise our hand and file a complaint. And so there's people that sit on that committee to review these things, and they actually have hearings and disciplinary action. There's another disciplinary board, right? There's the ethics committee that gets passed to a disciplinary action if it found to have been a valid complaint. So it's kind of like within our industry too. The public should probably be aware. It's like you should probably hire a realtor because of these reasons. That might be something that you on your social media and your posts could put out there and come from that angle, but look at it internally as well.
Well,
I
and to
would
add
argue
to that though, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sid.
I was just gonna add to what James is saying, that I would also say that a lot of real estate agents don't even understand the difference either. And I've actually seen arguments on groups about it, and people like tenured agents that have been in the industry for a really long time, kind of being like,
Come in there and go.
yeah, they're like, you need to understand how important this is to like advertise yourself correctly and things like that, because people were posting they were getting fined for using that designation when they weren't in fact part of NAR. And this was like nationwide
Mhm.
type of a group, but I just wanted to add to that, that it's agent education too.
Well, people need to realize that CE credits are required for a reason, that you're supposed to actually pay attention and listen and not just get the credit.
I was gonna say, unfortunately, with this lawsuit, I think is discrediting the NAR right now anyway, as far as the public goes, because that's the reason why they chose to sue, right? Is there something, anyway, my point is I wasn't gonna talk about that, but I was just gonna say, James and I had 2 closings this morning, and I've been dying to be able to say that. So,
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
because we didn't talk about the wins, but I also wanted James to share, I think he shared with Lynn a little bit, but he had some manifestation going on, which I'll have to say with Jeff, in Cabo, he was talking about manifestation, and then I was like, let's manifest some seats or something, and he did, and then literally someone was like, oh, do you guys need some seats? Here you go. And it was awesome. And so, anyway, James has some manifestation success story as far as our closings today. And anyway, I'll let him share that because it's kind of cool. And if you're not doing that already, then I don't know, maybe James can teach you how to do it.
I'm not really
Well-
sure what you're talking about though, Shayna. So I mean,
Well, that makes 2 of us. So, hey,
I don't know what you mean by manifestations, I guess. Maybe that's just Cabo talk. I don't know.
well, Jeff and Ashley, are you okay if Shana just takes over the rest of the meeting?
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I just was excited to share our win because we went right into the serious stuff. And I was like, hey, we actually have some exciting news today.
That is exciting. That
I
is
do
exciting.
too. I have
And yes, I am
exciting
okay
news
with
too.
Shayna taking over.
I have
Okay.
exciting news too. I got my first listing in years. A week ago.
Yay, nice job, Kathy.
She's already lowered the price $20,000. It's only been 3 days after she put the price on it and lowered it $20,000 already. And I had an open house yesterday, which was pretty good. I might have a buyer out of it. So all
Cool.
wins. I've been working hard.
Good job, Kathy.
Nice.
So
We're all waiting, James.
Okay. So I will share this. Lynn and I were talking about this a little bit, and I told her I'd share share with the details on this since this is the day. So I went back and looked at the dates. So we had a training Wednesday morning when we were driving down to the office one day, and this guy was talking about manifesting, and that was on January 24th. And so after that, I was like, man, that sounds pretty powerful. So I started doing that. And starting on that day, which was 53 days ago, I have consistently written down something like a gratitude statement. Now, here's the thing. I haven't read about manifesting. I just kind of followed what I got from this guy. So I could be doing it wrong, but you'll see at the end of the story and you can form your own opinion. But I would kind of say like a gratitude statement. And with that, it would invoke feelings. I feel joy, gratitude, happy for the work that I was able to do in grossing. And then I put $28,000 by March 18th. And then I would have some other things. I said, this is going to be a monetary blessing for my family, and that this is going to come from real estate transactions. And for each real estate transaction, we're going to go out and make 6 hygiene kits per transaction that we're going to go give to Clearfield High School, and they'll disperse it to some homeless students. And so that's what I started on January 24th. And we had one listing that had been on the market, I don't know, maybe 40 days or so. And as I was writing that down each time, I felt good about it. And like the dates and the money amount, I don't know, I just pulled those out of my head. Those were the first things that came to my mind. So as far as the timeline goes, so I would actually write it and then say it out loud. And so that's what I was doing. So January 27th, we went under contract on a house in Layton. And so the closing date on that was 3/29. So I was excited that we got under contract then, but I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't really line up with what I wanted. And so, which is fine. And so then we go to, let's see, the next date was February 20th. And so that's when we got a buyer under contract on his house. And so things are going along. And then February 20th. And then on the 27th, on the house that we were selling, we updated that addendum. And I believe they sent that to us, and the date was March 18th. And then I was like, oh, that's cool, because that's the date I've been saying this entire time. And then we set the closing for our buyer for March 20th, just to line up the dates for protection, because it was kind of one of those need to sell in order to buy. And everything just kind of started working out. But I would say this over and over again, and it's just through that process, I think about evoking the emotion and consistency and just doing our best towards those things. It worked out. And so we've closed both of those today. And we signed before we started this meeting, so I'm sure they'll fund today, which means we'll get the checks today. And I looked up the gross amount, and it's $24,000. So it's pretty, I don't know, it's wild. Like, here's the thing, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just started doing this because a friend had taught us this principle, and I had done a couple others. I have one at the end of the year. If I hit that, that'll be a cool share. But just simply going through that and acting as if it already acting as if it already happened. So just basically doing my best, but also I would kind of use my imagination to see what it was like when I closed and when I got the checks, and just the excitement that the buyer and the sellers had throughout the process. And so what I'm feeling now about, like, I've already experienced this like almost every day since January 24th. It's the same thing. So it's kind of cool.
And what he's saying is we have 13 hours to find $4,000 more.
That is incredible. I love that. That is definitely something to share with people. It's inspirational, and yeah, manifestation, it's real. And Shayna, to your thing on the seats in Cabo, before that at the airport, Stacy and Eric and Michelle were at the airport in Salt Lake with us, and our flight was delayed like an hour. They kept saying on the intercom, our flight attendant is at another terminal. We're waiting for her to show up, and then we can arrive. 10 minutes later, they'd say it again. 15 minutes later, we're still waiting on that flight attendant. Stacy says, Jeff, would you just manifest us a new flight attendant? I said, you got it. Doesn't always work that fast, but you got it. So like literally 1 to 2 minutes later, we found ourselves as a new flight attendant. We're ready to board. So boom. James, that's awesome. I love that share. I'm gonna share that with other people. That was really awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the thing is, a lot of times I'll get analysis paralysis and all that, but I was literally like, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. I think it's more precisely outlined in the book Think and Grow Rich, but I didn't even bother reading that section. I just started going with it, and like my wording each time I wrote it down, the general format was similar, but I'd use like different descriptive words, but I kept like the numbers the same. And as far as I haven't shared this with our kids yet, but we're going to do that tomorrow when we go to the store, because the reason I picked 6 is that because we have 6 in our family, so each one of us will be able to gather individual supplies, like per transaction for these hygiene kits. And then so we're going to give them a list. They'll go out and pick it up, and then I'm going to record them, and then I'm going to share with them how all this came about, because I think we've shared it before. Like our oldest daughter, she essentially manifested some Taylor Swift tickets. So just getting these little manifestation wins along the way, hopefully reiterates to them that, this stuff works and they should try it themselves. Whether you understand the process fully or not, just go for it.
I love
is
that.
that
You don't,
kinda like
I love that
wishing
you
and
just added that.
hoping?
You don't have to understand it, just do it.
Yeah.
So is that kind of like just wishing and hoping, but writing it down and then hoping it comes true? Is that?
Oh
that
no,
what
there
you're
was
trying
there
to-
was no wishing and hoping.
A feeling.
Yeah.
So I
More
mean, I mean,
than that.
probably some action too, but I'm just saying, is that kind of the theory of it or whatever?
I don't know the exact theory, but it's kind of, so I've been reading a lot of books about the law of attraction and everything. And so, and just getting in specific like frequencies or energy levels, like you can go somewhere and you can feel like an energy drop, or
Mhm.
you can like attend these meetings and feel an increase in your energy. And so really I just tried to focus on keeping my energy or frequency levels as high as I could and doing the best for the client. And that's what I those are a couple other things that I added in there, is like, because I'm, the client's going to be super happy with, I don't know if I got specific as far as like communication and stuff, but just I wrote down things as like as far as serving them to the best of our abilities. I mean, I went over there on Thursday because Utopia had started putting in conduit because the buyer had already ordered that, but they didn't own the house. So I told them to stop and put all the sod back and dirt and all that. So it's been an interesting transaction, but it's really not anything different than how we'd serve the client already. I think it's just kind of a change in mindset as far as positivity. And the thing is, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. And so I just put it out there and asked for it. Like I said, I don't know how the dates worked out. And I wrote down the first number that came to my head as far as the dollar amount, and then I put down the first date that popped into my head. It's funny because this worked out so nice. I'm kind of hesitant to start a new one, but I'm going to.
Go for it.
So yeah, everyone give it a try.
Start a new one.
Yeah,
And it's free.
so
It's free.
let me give you guys a book. Kathy, read this book. It'll explain what James is talking about. This was actually recommended to me by Sydney. I like this kind of stuff. I like learning about the law of attraction, setting our intentions, manifesting into our life. It makes you feel in control. But the book is The Sultan's 7 Secrets. I just finished it last night. It's a small book. It's a small read, but some of you know I started 75 hard on Monday. And so I'm actually reading physical books. So I ordered it on Amazon after Sydney had recommended it to me, but I started it for 75 hard. But it speaks to what James is talking about, the Sultan's 7 Secrets. It talks about not only it separates the belief in just saying affirmations is going to make you into that type of person, because it adds into that element that you have to attach feeling with it. So James, by writing down those things and saying it and feeling the excitement and having the feeling that goes along with already having achieved it, is literally what makes it happen. Because the reason it's called law of attraction is because our souls are magnetic, right? And it can, believe it or not, can control the material world, and it can bring things into our existence. Because yep, we are just that powerful.
Okay, I will get that. I got some Amazon credits.
The Sultan's 7 Secrets.
I have
I think one thing that I really like about it is you start to like dream and use your imagination again. Because if you kind of think about the last time you did that, you may very well have been a kid or something like that. But it really brings that in. Like I visualized my kids walking down the aisle, because we've done this before on a different fundraiser. Like, granted, they were arguing and bickering over the toothpaste and stuff like that, but they were picking up things for each kid that they were gonna like give that to. So I'm not going to have everyone just gather the toothpaste. A kid is going to gather an entire kit so they can see what a person is going to benefit from. So I would say dream and use your imagination. That's half the fun of it. And then when it comes about, just like you've been thinking about, it's a good day. The end.
I did the same thing this week. Well, last week. Positive affirmations. I appreciate
I'm also
that.
being positive too, that I'll get some roommates for Coach Bill Pipe's Orlando, event that's in May. So come on down. I
Awesome.
got it already rumored.
So I have a success story I'd like to share too.
Yeah, do it, Nate.
So I've been, it's a funny story. So I had a listing in our mobile home at State Park. And I got a call from this guy. He's in Texas. He's moving back up here. And I recognized the name, but I didn't say anything. And then a few weeks later, after I got him pre-approved, met up here. He couldn't believe it was me from high school. We knew each other 30 years ago. Haven't seen each other since. And so I've been helping him and his family to find a home. And so we got under contract with a gorgeous home here in Sweet Home, $502,000. Went through the whole process, underwriting and everything. And a week before closing, the lending fell through. And so the listing agent, which is actually the owner also of the house, or was, introduced me to their lender, and we hustled all week and had, all I could think in my head is positive affirmations like that, just concentrating on the positive emotion of it closing. And we did get it closed this Friday. So
It's awesome.
Nice.
pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And I actually still had some money left from my last closing on the 26th last month. I think that's the first time that's happened where I still had money left over from a closing.
Super cool.
Awesome.
I love it. Nice job, Nate. Okay, guys, I'm gonna jump over to one of those masterminds on the NAR ruling. The links are in the chat, or go to Team Limitless Facebook group if you want to click onto those. And if you have time to watch them, hopefully they'll be recorded because I know there's people I want to share it with afterwards. So that was great. We didn't get through any other slides or anything, but this was a great discussion. I love you guys. Reach out if we can do anything for you, and we are adjourned.
Are you having a
See ya.
pool party this year?
Oh, yeah.
I want to come. Just let me know.
All right, I'll let you know. I gotta put a
Okay.
calendar together.
Okay.
Okay, see you guys.
See you guys. Thanks.
Fourth grade music.